Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more information I received from the 25th dimension during my last BQH hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript. And when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking of my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm speaking of myself under hypnosis, which means that the answers are coming from a 25th dimension. Before I start reading today, I would like to thank you, as always, for subscribing, liking, and commenting on this video. Especially your comments really make me so happy because we always find that we are kind of all going through the same things, which I think is a comfort to all of us, that none of us is particularly crazy and dealing with completely out there stuff, because it seems that we're all working, which is what the 25th tells us. We're all kind of working on the same thing in the background. So it's kind of fun to see how that pops up. And when I say fun, I mean like, sometimes it's not so great, but at least we can, hang in there together and try to make it through this over time. All right, today's video marks the first part of my new session that I'm releasing with this set of videos. And as usual, in the beginning of a session, the 25th is typically gives us a message. Either will show me a vision of something that they want to discuss, or they will, what they've started doing is they will answer questions that are related to what Lorrayne and I talk about before we start recording and doing, basically going into hypnosis. And in this particular case, I was discussing with Lorrayne, and we felt in very similar ways about this, where we were discussing the fact that life is tedious at best, and truly on the surface, it doesn't look like much is happening. And so bad things, or what we consider to be negative things, are still happening on the surface. Now the 25th has told us that behind the scenes, we already rebalanced a lot of the polarity. And therefore, the reason things do look like nothing has really changed, even though there are a lot of good news that are coming up as well. But we tend to want everything to look a certain way for us to get confirmation. I know I do that for sure. So if I see one negative thing pop up, I'm like, that's it, nothing's changing. But so we were just talking about this, and we're saying, okay, what's the point? We understand we got to keep the shell in place because we can't handle becoming too emotional if the veil falls and we find out that everything that's really transpired on this planet. And we do believe, as truthers, we do believe that we know, but the 25th keeps on telling us we don't even know 1%, like a fraction of what has transpired here. And the fact is, I have found out that this is very true directly, because I have actually had somebody that I know tell me her story, or disclose her story as having been a victim of a type of programming that you guys are probably familiar with, that the dark has been doing. And I heard two things, and I couldn't sleep for days. And then we've had somebody in the community who had a really vivid dream of something that's been happening on this planet, that I was like, oh my goodness, how are we going to deal with this when there is no veil, and we're all going to be aware of this. And I also personally have had dreams that had to do with some of the dark things that have transpired here. And yet again, the 25th tells us this is only the tip of the iceberg. So we definitely have a lot of work ahead of us, but that makes sense to me why we would want to keep the veil in place, because we are not capable of handling, our bodies are not even capable of handling clearing this type of knowledge at this level. And so basically though, what's happening is that we're all chomping at the bit. So we all want to move forward. Lorrayne, for example, has been very adamant about the fact that she doesn't want this veil to be in place. She's ready to, because she's used to doing a lot of work. She's very consciously aware, and she's telling the 25th, okay, but I'm ready. And 25th had an answer for her at the beginning of the session, and I want to share that with you. Now, this is not to throw Lorrayne under the bus. Again, we are all feeling in similar ways. We are all tired of being here and of seeing things really not change much on the surface. So I'm only bringing this up because I really appreciated the answer on the 25th. And again, Lorraine and I we're discussing the same feelings that we had before the session. So it wasn't just her, for sure. All right, so this is Lorraine. She just finished her induction, so I am under hypnosis, and here's what she's saying. Thank you for coming out and playing with us today. She's speaking to the 25th. We have a lot to get through with you today, but before we get into our questions, as always, is there anything that you would like to say to us in the beginning of the session? Me. We would like to say there is a purpose. We know that you doubt or you believe that we are not giving you the truth or you have questions, but we want to tell you there is a purpose. We've already spoken about this at length. We are not going to go into details because, again, you do not accept the reasons we have given you. However, we know that you will get the information you've asked for and it will be clear to you. So here's the particular topic they are referring to. Lorraine, one of the reasons she does not want the veil to be in place is because supposedly keeping the veil in place means that she has to continue dealing with her sinuses being swollen and her inability to breathe freely, something that she's dealt with for a long time. And I think that many of us can relate to how tiresome and draining and just completely exhausting it is, even without accounting for the pain itself, how exhausting it is to deal with a physical condition for decades. And if you've had anything that's lasted more than a few days, you know how on top of the issue itself, it becomes so heavy, such a heavy burden to deal with that for multiple days. It's almost like your body gets exhausted. And so I completely understand where she's coming from and why she's frustrated. And because the 25th is telling her it's because we're keeping the veil in place. Basically, your higher self is not interested in removing the sinus issue. And because she's so well aware at a conscious level, she's saying, well, I'm not my higher self. How come I'm not doing this? This matters to me. And the 25th has explained to her what's really going on. And this was all discussed in my previous session. So if you've seen that, then you would know what I'm referring to. Otherwise, feel free to go back because they gave some really lengthy explanations for some of the things that we are going through, not just Lorraine. And so that said, Lorraine, of course, is still unhappy with the fact that she has her sinus issues. And the 25th is telling her that because we want to keep this veil in place, so everything, we want our reality to look the way it's always been on the surface. That's why she still has these sinus issues. That is to protect us from the full knowledge of what's transpired here, because again, we wouldn't be able to take it. And what they're telling her, and this is the main reason I wanted to share this bit of the session, is that if you are unhappy with something, so in her case, they're saying, okay, you don't believe us when we tell you that this is happening for a reason. You don't believe that your higher self is prioritizing things that actually matter above the thing that matters to you, and you think you of yourself as this body. And but the answers will come to you. In other words, I had, for example, as I mentioned, dreams that showed me some of the stuff that's happened here, and I know now. I know why we're trying to protect ourselves, because I was already in a lot of distress, emotional and mental distress, because of what I saw. And I didn't even see that much. I couldn't even actually be in the role of the victims of these things. And even then, I was very distraught, because in one of these dreams, I became one of the perpetrators, actually. And again, I will share this dream with you. We asked the 25th about it in the session, so it will be coming up in one of the next few videos. But basically, so I can understand what we're trying to do. I mean, I get it now, okay? Even though I'm just as frustrated as everybody else by some of the things I continue seeing, even in my own personal life. And we talk about this at length as well in this session. But Lorrayne hasn't had this experience yet. So she's telling herself, I can take it, I can take whatever it is. I don't need this protection by my higher self. I just want all of this to collapse. Which, again, I can understand where she's coming from. I think we all feel the same way in that sense. And the 25th is telling her, okay, you don't want to believe us, that we're telling you that, yes, you are being protected, because even though you believe you can handle things, nobody can. That's the thing. On this planet, no one could handle the knowledge, the full knowledge, basically the veil falling. That's what we're keeping it in place. What you can do, and this is where I think the general advice for all of us really is coming in. They said what you can do is ask your higher self to show you one bit, just one tiny bit of what's happened here, and then see how you do with it. And I know that she will get it. She has been asking for that because she wants to know. And I know she will get it. The 25th is confirming here that she will get the dreams, basically, or she will get the information somehow, maybe during meditation, whatever it looks like for her. And then she will be better be able to judge if this is something that she wants to be exposed to. So I wanted to share this because in case you're having doubts about what's going on and you don't understand why we're keeping these things in place the way they are, you can always go inside. It's 25th always tells us go inside because you already know what's going on and find out what it is that you're being protected from. And your higher self might decide that, yes, you can handle maybe a little bit to see. I can tell you, obviously, my higher self or I have wanted to know certain things. And even then, it's tough, guys. It's tough. One thing is, I know there are people out there that say, oh, I can see this. I can see it on television. I can't wait for disclosure and stuff. It's tough because it's not like watching a movie. It's like you being in the movie and you actually believing this is all real. It's all happening to you. You're either the victim or you are the perpetrator. Because when we go to New York, when there is no veil, we will be both. We will feel all the feelings of everybody that was there. Because as the 25th always tells us, if one person has done something, we have all done it. Meaning the person doing whatever they were doing, it was me, it was you. And the person suffering at the hands of what was being done, whether it was experiments, whether it was ritual abuse, whatever it might have been, it was you. You're going to feel all of that, just like I'm going to feel all of that. So this is no walk in the park. All right, let's move forward. And this is, I did want to add this because Lorrayne, again, being as self-aware as she is, she commented after the 25th said, trust us, basically, or don't trust us, ask to be shown, and you'll see what we mean. She said, thank you. I don't mean to be defiant. I'm just tired, as we all are. And I very much appreciate the communication, even if my human ego gets angry. So I appreciate you. Thank you. And again, I mean, we are all just as tired as she is. So I don't think there's anything more to say there. All right. So we're moving on to the questions I prepared for the session. And here we go. Lorrayne. When you quantify the peaks of darkness reached here in terms of percentages, you said that we reached peaks of 70 to 80% darkness. What was the percentage of darkness here when we decided to first reset and then to take this down after resets were co-opted by the dark? Me, 60%. At 60%, we'll already pass the range that is acceptable, what we consider to be imbalance. And it was already concerning enough that we decided, we came up with the idea of resets when we saw that the balance tipped past 54 to 55%. And what I mean is 54 to 55% in favor of the dark. And by the time we got to 60, because as we mentioned, resets were co-opted by the dark. And so reality at that point became dark quite quickly. And the polarity became that much darker very quickly compared to the time it had taken before. And all of a sudden, we're at 60%. We decided this is it. This is the only thing we can do. At 60%, already nobody was enjoying themselves anymore. Lorrayne, thank you. How imbalanced were the other two planets that were taken down before their takedown? So we're referring to the other two planets that have had takedowns in the multiverse before this one. Me. They also were in the 60% range. And this is why we decided to, or we went immediately to the idea of the takedown when we reached 60%. Because we had already seen that once you are just a few points past that range, we talked about what is acceptable, because again, balance doesn't have to be 50-50, but normally balance is somewhere in the realm of, since you like to quantify things in terms of percentages, we'll try to use percentages here. Sometimes balance is in the range of 46 to 47% to maybe 53, 54, 55%. We have a little bit more leeway on the side of the light. And here they're looking at it as if 50-50 is our midpoint. And they're saying when it comes to polarity, to light polarity, you can go up to 53, 54, 55. So say 5 points off of what we think is balance at 50-50. But when it comes to the dark, they're basically using numbers below the 50% midline to say, to consider negative polarity. And so they're saying if we dip into the dark, even 3 or 4 points off the midpoint is already imbalanced. So they're saying 47 or 46%. So again, we have a little bit more leeway on the side of the light. After that, it becomes also boring. And so once we start dipping that far below the 47, 46 line, we start noticing, it becomes noticeable that things just don't work the way that we wanted them to work, or that we intended them to work when we first came onto the planet. This works the same throughout the matrix. It's something that we set up to work this way. And so the other planets, once they dipped, by the time the takedown happened, they had dipped well below, close to 40. So right around 60% in terms of darkness. And therefore, they were taken down as planets. So again, they had reached the 60% darkness level and they were taken down. And because they were taken down, everybody went to the same, basically they all on the surface passed away and moved to a different planet. It was fairly straightforward and happened in real time, as opposed to us taking this long to manage our takedown just because we have been wanting to move on with our bodies. Lorrayne, thank you for your answer. I have a question to insert in here. If the other planets were only somewhere between 57 and 60% and they were taken down at that point, why did it take so long with this planet? Because we reached the 70 to 80% mark in terms of darkness. Me. Yeah, that's a very good question. We have actually discussed this previously. We wanted to do something different this time. The way the other planets moved on was by removing the entire population. Of course, it would have been experienced as death, if you think of it in human terms. And then they all moved to a new planet. At the same time, we wanted to move on with our bodies. The only reason why it's taken us this long is because we're trying to do something that's completely new. We had never done before. We didn't know it would take us 300 years. We didn't know it would take this long. We just didn't know how long it would take, because we've used the analogy of warehouse logistics, where basically you have a full warehouse. You never emptied it before. You have no idea how long it will take you. And so there was a lot of logistics going into it in terms of we had to find planets or other civilizations that were open to hosting us. We expected basically the entire 1.7 billion essences that are here now. At the time, they were somewhat less. Obviously, a lot of essences started coming in when we decided on the takedown because they wanted to see it happen. We had to find people to host us, in 1.7 billion people, even though it doesn't sound like much in terms of the multiverse, of how many bodies we have in the multiverse. It really is a lot of people because a lot of planets don't have a lot of people. You already mentioned the fact that the only reason we are this many, and this is very unusual in the Matrix, is because people, essences, have come here from everywhere to witness the takedown. And so this logistically has been extremely complex. Not only in addition to that, and again, we've discussed all of this, so we're not going to go into too much detail. But just as a reminder, and you can obviously refer back to our previous discussions of this topic, we don't have a very good reputation. By the time a planet, and again, imagine it doesn't seem like much that you're going below 47, 46% polarity, or that you are at 55, 56%, and all of a sudden you go into 60% darkness, it doesn't seem like a big difference, but truly in terms of the quality of life, what you would refer to as the quality of life. Really, for us, the entertainment value of a planet, it is that huge that we've taken down 2 planets because of it. So this is so extremely rare. It's beyond rare in the Matrix. We've been around. The Matrix has been around for almost as long as we have, and that's a long time. And so imagine it's only happened twice, so it is a huge deal. So because of that, it was already considered, that percentage of darkness was already considered so negative, because remember, the rest of the Matrix thinks of negativity, of good and bad, just like we do. It was already considered so negative that they're afraid of us. They were afraid of us. A lot of planets are very much judging planet Earth. And again, this is the game we play. There's no judgment of them. This is the game we play within the Matrix. Judging planet Earth as being a disastrous situation. And they're very much afraid. They believe, oh, look at humans, look at Terrans, look at what they're capable of doing. Now, we're no worse, obviously, than anybody else. But this has been obviously an issue when it came to trying to find new hosts, people that would have to live with us for a long time, because the people, our friends, who have gone on to other planets, they're not living the lifespans we have here. So they're not living to be 50, 60, 80 years old. So somebody moving to another planet might be there for 300, 400, 600 years. So it's a big deal. If they believe that we're dangerous, it's not something that they would want. Now, even the aliens who have taken our brothers and sisters in, they've had to build chambers, and we already said this. For example, one of the reasons why going there with our bodies has failed, and we don't mean failed as in it's not happened, because it has happened, but we didn't successfully manage for everyone, which was our original plan, to go there with our bodies. And why have some essences not been able to bring their bodies? Very simply, because we have such low vibration. We've accumulated such low vibration within our bodies, and the way that we think about things, where even they think they have this technology, and even with that, what we consider, what we like to think of as advanced technology, they couldn't fix it. So a lot of essences have had a hard time, whereas the moment they left the bodies, they went there with their essence, they created, they imagined a new body, and all of a sudden, it's fine. So the vibration is so different that even on these planets who have opened their arms to us, and we're very grateful for them, they've had to create basically entire new cities. We call them chambers, but entire new cities for us to be there. And these are obviously the people that are in 3D chambers. But even when we say that we have gone to hang out with the aliens, we don't share space with them. Our brothers and sisters are not sharing space with them immediately. They wouldn't be able, our brothers and sisters are not able physically to integrate immediately. It takes, what we're trying to portray here is that even a small difference in vibration affects to an extreme degree how we react if you're not used to it. Being exposed to a vibrational difference of just a couple of percentage points is huge. It's not just, when we think of numbers here, we think, oh, 100%. So in comparison to 100%, 1%, 2% is nothing. That's not nothing. We're talking about very small percentage increments here, and therefore this has caused some real issues. We had no idea because we've never done this before. We've definitely learned through this, but it's still challenging. It's not easy. We've already, for example, described before the humans, even when they are accepted in society, they're aware that they are hanging out with aliens. They're not in 3D chambers. They have their own, we describe them as resorts. They have their own isolated areas where they are. And it's not just done for the protection of the aliens themselves, because they don't know what to expect. Obviously, they've opened their arms, so they expect the best. But this is also done for the benefit and the comfort of our brothers and sisters who have moved there, because it's such a huge difference. And what we discovered when we tried to move there with our bodies is that many cannot handle it. Even though this is isolated, it's still on the same planet, still different vibration. And even then, because we know this, we now know this. Our alien brothers and sisters would not know this. And certainly at a 3D level, we would have never imagined this. The essence knows everything. So the essence is exposed to everything. So even though we think, oh, my body's protected, it's in this little shell here, it's in this little capsule, in this little hotel room or huge resort, or whatever you want to call it, within a contained environment. There's no contained environment. We all feel each other, right? And so all of a sudden, our brothers and sisters are feeling everyone on the planet. Now, truthfully, at an essence level, we feel everybody in the matrix, but they're feeling for sure, even more so, everybody on the planet. So it doesn't matter how contained or cocooned they are. This is why we run into the issue with the bodies. So this was a long answer to your question, but the bottom line is, why did it take us this long? It's because we try things that are completely different from what we have done before. And the reason, because this question just popped into Clea's mind, the reason we even tried this, taking down a planet and leaving with our bodies, is because the first time around we did a takedown with one of the two planets. Of course, it was new. It went smoothly, but of course, there were snags as well. When we say it went smoothly, it happened in what you consider a shorter amount of time. It went pretty much as planned. But of course, there were some snags because there always are. There's always surprises. And so when we did the second takedown, first of all, obviously, we're hoping not to do any more. It was such a huge deal already to do that first one. And so when we did the second, we thought, oh, let's do this. And then, of course, we had already resolved a lot of the surprises. It wasn't a surprise anymore. We knew what to do. So it went a lot more smoothly. And so at that point, we thought, okay, well, let's try something different because otherwise this is boring. And because we get another chance, and we hope not to get any more chances to do takedowns, and we do expect this will be it for the simple reason that we've learned so much here. But of course, we always say there's no future. So who knows what we decide to do in the new experience that we have. But supposedly, hopefully this is the last one. And therefore we decided, hey, let's make it count. Let's see what else we can learn. And the truth is, in hindsight, already the takedown, we said this before, already doing the takedown in this new way is a big deal because we are learning things that are incredible. But with the fact that we've had this over time that we're experiencing now, this is, we said it to you, Clea doesn't even have the words to describe how huge, and they were laughing here. Again, we don't have the correct words. This is beyond proportions that we can even use. This is something that will change, has changed. It's already changing, so it has changed the matrix forever. We have created an entire new way of being in the matrix, and we've been here. Keep in mind how huge this is. We've been here for eons, and this is happening right now, and it's changing everything. So that was a long answer for your question, and they were laughing. It was a good recap, though. I found it interesting. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Lorrayne, thank you. It explained a lot, and it allows us here in this 3D experience to really understand the scope and breadth of all of this, because we can go down those rabbit holes and really think about the interaction between an essence that has lived here going on to an alien planet and then having to experience aliens. And so they're going to have to go through that whole transition of remembering, recalling, getting to know. So it really does help us see the bigger picture. So thank you for that. Me, of course, good. All right, so I'm going to close this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it interesting and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.